Good evening, everyone. It's Enrique. As I mentioned, I was gonna do two videos this week to make up for the last one. Um, by the way, right now it's like 9:49, right? It's Sunday night, by the way. Um, so today's video, I wanted to focus on currency, right? So pardon me. There you go. So one of the things I wanted to talk about as I gave hints I've mentioned briefly in other videos is gold and silver. Um, I guess this video is targeted towards people around my age, 18, 24, or I guess late 20s, whatever, right? Because we're all still relatively young, right? And the economy sucks right now. Um, it does look like that the US dollar is recovering, but I don't think it's still gonna go down. It's gonna go down. It's backed by nothing but trust and faith, whatever that means. And if you look at the dollar bill, it says it's a legal tender for debt, public and private, meaning it's backed by absolutely nothing but debt as well, right? Faith and trust as well as debt. Without that faith and trust, then the dollar's completely nothing. It's worthless, right? They keep printing, they keep printing, they keep printing. The more they print, the less value the dollar is gonna have. The more existence that they keep printing, the less value it'll have. And of course, if we keep borrowing money from the Federal Reserve, which isn't federal or reserve, that means more interest and whatever. We owe them more money, right? Um, By the way, the Federal Reserve was passed by a bunch of billionaires, millionaires, whatever, in 1913, right? Right after the Titanic coincidentally sunk. Along with it, opponents, millionaires that were against the Federal Reserve. So, make of it what you will there. So the Federal Reserve passes, and then these people become rich. Um, One of them were J.P. Morgan, right? The creator of the Titanic, blah blah blah, whatever. And his rich Zionist, well, not I guess not Zionist at the time, but his rich friends, whatever, right? And then before that passed, the U.S. dollar and maybe currencies around the world, I don't know, don't quote me on that. I might be wrong, right? Specifically talking about the U.S., our currency was backed by gold and by silver, and it even says in the Constitution that legal tenders, or I guess what would be considered as money, is gold and silver, right? It says in the Constitution, and then when the Federal Reserve is enacted, all of that goes away, and in the following years that came, okay, let me rewind a little bit there. Before the Federal Reserve, I guess, people were able to trade their hard-earned money for gold or silver, whatever, right? You want to trade it in 20 for silver or gold, and even said on the dollar bill, a legal tender for gold, right? That's what the dollar bills said back in the day. But then after the Federal Reserve passed and a bunch of acts were enacted due to economic or military reasons, the government took away our gold and then later they took away our silver, right? For what? To make us poorer and to make tiny hats richer and along the way their friends and their political puppets, right? And I guess is to get on a further point, I guess the original point of this video, gold and silver, right? As I mentioned, they keep printing out money. Our money is continuously becoming more and more worthless. It's able to buy less and less and less each year. And, the increase of price of gold and silver isn't a coincidence because, as an example, how do I put it? The more money is being printed, the less value it has, the less purchasing power, right? And what gold basically does is it increases price, right? But really what it's doing is it's reserving it's basically reserving its value, right? The value of dollars in the form of gold, right? As an example, let's say gold was worth $200 like in the 80s, right? I guess $200 back then was a lot of money, right? It would increase the price, and then now we're the way we are now. The price of gold and silver, I guess just gold, right? It didn't really change. What did change, it was the value of the dollar. It keeps plummeting down, right? It's the same thing with housing, and that's what economists would say, right? Oh, the pricing of houses didn't really change. It was the value of the dollar. So that's another example right there. And I believe now more than ever, it's important that we have some gold and silver saved, right, for our financial futures, our generation, right? Because when are we gonna own houses? When are we gonna own anything of value that isn't a car, or I guess a used car, right? Because I have a used car, right? There's no shame in that. That would be probably never, unless one of your primary focuses and goals are just that, then more power to you. Um, so yeah, I feel right now it's good to have some savings in dollars, right? Of course, I'm gonna say this. I'm not a financial advisor, so this is strictly my opinion. It's good to have some money saved in fiat currency, but I feel like it's very important as well to have some of that saved in gold and silver, right? To preserve the money that you earn, to preserve the hours of your own labor, right? That's what gold does primarily, right? And silver, since it's extremely volatile, it could be at $70 here, and then tomorrow could be like at 60, right? Whatever. It's extremely volatile. And gold mainly just sits there and stays pretty, right? It does have few technological usages, but it's not too many, nothing too significant. Compare that to silver, which I personally think it's gonna increase in price and value in the next coming years in the future, right? Because it's always been used monetarily, right? The world is in high demand of silver, and well, the supply is very low, relative to the demand, right? And obviously, the world's running out of silver. That's another reason why it's not recyclable because we use it in solar panels, we use it in the medical field, we're gonna use it in batteries because you saw what Samsung did. They're having silver batteries. We use them in electric vehicles and in army, in the military, missiles, right? As an example. And obviously, after an explosion, you can recover silver, right? So hence, silver is becoming more rare, but of course, due to market manipulation by the elites, the price of silver has stayed artificially low compared to what it's actually worth, right? And plus, if you take a look at the gold to silver ratio, in order to get 1 ounce of gold, I think right now it's about 60 ounces of silver, right? 60 or 50 ounces of silver equals 1 ounce of gold, right? But historically, it's always been 10 to 50 for an ounce of gold, right? So you see the discrepancy right there, the very large gap. I would say a very artificially manipulated gap right there, right? So yeah, so that's what I think anyways. I think it's very important to hold more silver than gold because who has $4,000 or $5,000 lying around just to buy 1 ounce of gold, right? It's right now it's more of a safe bet well, I guess not safe bet because it's, at the end of the day, it's still a gamble, right? You don't know what they're gonna do with the market. I would say it's a better shot to invest in silver. And of course, this is strictly my opinion, right? I'm not a financial advisor. Take everything I say as an opinion with a grain of salt. I think it's very important to invest in silver right now because let's say when the gold to silver ratio decreases and you have, let's say, 40, 50 ounces of silver, right? That's like about what, 2,000, $3,000, right? All of that's gonna convert to even more money, and then you could convert maybe a couple of ounces of those 30, 50 to maybe 1 to 3 ounces of gold, right? So yeah, and of course that last one is all theoretical, or it's a possibility. I think it's a possibility. Um, but yeah, anyways, I'm gonna call it a day, and I'm gonna call it a night. I hope someone found this video informative, and good night.